only out of India was manufactured at AUS engineering school. And I don't know if anyone from the engineering school here, I don't know if there's a control room still there or not. Anyone can confirm at the engineering school? But this is something that we are very proud to have here in Sharjah, and I think this is what I say, if we can activate those young brains, I think we have really a very, very bright future. So thank you very much for bearing with us. I think this is really remarkable and historic day for us. And I think with this, Ali, can I invite you please to start this session, and wish you all the best. Please make it very exciting. Otherwise people will say you on the TV. So thank you very much.
Hi, congratulations for reaching March. Okay. First, I would like to invite our panelists to join me over here on stage. Adnan, Kenesi, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To check. It's okay. We'll start first. Thank you for joining us today, Tech Tuesday, or we may call it today the Hope Tuesday. Since the establishment of the Spark, Tech Tuesday became our main initiatives to share the latest technology and success stories. Today, we will be talking about the big trends in the field of technology. Our goal today is whatever your role in this industry, that you will come away with the new ideas, strategies that you can apply to your successful business in the future. Today we are going to share some tech success stories in the field of future education and the mixed reality technology. We have today Adnan Swedi, CEO of Nowingo, and Maria Tennessee, founder of Virtual Clinic. Good evening. So because we will be hosting the Women in Tech in a couple of weeks, so we can start now with Tennessee, please. You can give us some background about you, what you do, talk about your company a little bit.
Hi, good evening. I'm Maria, and I'm from the UK, and I've been in the UAE for 7.5 years, and my interest is mental health. So my company, Virtually Clinical, is the future of therapy, which is taking the power of the mind with the power of technology. So I've had my business, this is my 5th year, and as a coach, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist. So what I realise is that many of my clients, they don't really want to talk much about their problems. They want to use whatever technology or any emotion that can help them to let go easier. So I've developed a concept which is allowing them to let go easily using virtual reality and eventually using AI and avatar therapists as well. But not only with technology, but also combining it with obviously with professionals as well to support it. But the two big aims of my business is really to help to remove the stigma for seeking professional help. So many of my clients struggle sometimes with admitting that they might be coming, they might be in very senior positions and then struggling with panic attacks or anxiety or something like that. And also is being able to make therapy accessible to the younger generations by taking the technology from the gaming world and using that in the mental health space. So everything, my real passion is to, if I can help to give someone a better quality of life, then in a faster way, and to be able to help them to let go of whatever their presenting problems are in an easier way, then that's my passion, and that's what I'm going to do. And I won't stop until I've done it all. Thank you.
Thank you. So if we're talking about the mixed reality, okay, can you give us please some use cases for using this mixed reality, and how are you able to solve certain problems with the people?
So I have a psychological or a psychotherapy platform which is called SciUS. So they develop the psychotherapy program, so it has more than 70 different applications. So it could be social phobia, anxiety, depression, fear of heights, fear of flying, body image. So basically it's like exposure therapy, so you're using an environment that's, you're not taking them to the extreme environment if someone's got a fear of something. So we're using VR, so already the platform has been developed. It's not my platform, that's a platform that I utilise in conjunction with talk therapy as well. So it can pretty much be used with anything that you want to help with a controlled environment. So somebody could see themselves in an environment, if it was confidence, for instance, they can see themselves as an avatar inside the environment, and which helps them, because basically the brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So that's what I utilise, and that's what when they're using this technology, this is the same way when you go to the cinema that you might cry. Well, not you obviously, but some people might cry. But actually is that the brain doesn't know the difference between real or imagined, so it still has the same emotion, so it can feel as if you've actually overcome something when you haven't actually been in that environment. So it's kind of like giving somebody, you can know that before you let somebody go, they've actually really overcome something, rather than just talking about it, because their brain feels like they've actually experienced it.
Because once I tried VR playing Minecraft, if you know the game, okay, then suddenly I got a headache, from that. So overall, how do you see the acceptance of this technology between people? Are they really get used to it, to understand what is really in it for them?
Well, what I focus on is not just VR, it's actually immersive technology. So, and not just technology, but also techniques as well. So, using the current programs that I have, it's about 20 minutes with VR at a time, so that's all that's required. But there are some people that don't really like VR because they might be claustrophobic and they don't really like that on. So it's about utilising all different things. So it's basically utilising sounds and smells and different environments, so that it helps to support the brain to think that something has changed. So you can use augmented reality as well, and also using like an avatar therapist as well for some of the sessions, because people are actually more honest and open when they're talking. They don't want to give all their secrets away. So it's only a limited time. So there are very, very, very few side effects or negative impacts from it.
So let's move to the audience. Any one of you just tried the AR or VR before? Anyone has experience with it before? Can talk about his experience, please?
Hello, I actually studied about all the VR, AR, MR, and XR. So I know that also people now are focusing on extended reality. And I wanted to ask you, you will also be attuned to the extended reality? Because extended reality feels like a little bit scary, like we don't have really control of that.
Well, we're going to use all technology, so extended, mixed reality, so whatever it is that's necessary. If I was to suggest something, so I don't know if anyone's been to Dreamscape, which is in Dubai in Mall of Emirates, they have, so they connect sensors to the feet and to the arms, and you also have a backpack. So when you look at yourself, you see yourself as an avatar, or you see everyone else. So for me, that's like the ultimate. I mean, there's so many applications. I mean, even though I focus on mental health, imagine somebody who maybe doesn't have use of their legs, they can see themselves running, you can see, there's just so many things that you can do. And at the moment, the gaming world is like just out there, but I know that the same applications can be used. But I really believe that it's not just one thing, it's not just about technology. My passion is helping someone to have a better quality of life. I just know that I can make it easier for somebody so they don't have to talk for hours about what's the problem, and if I can include some immersion, not just technology but also techniques, then whatever I can do that can help, I will do. So in some cases, it's whether it's VR or AR or AI, whatever it is that works for somebody. But my idea is that someone would go through a procedure and they'd go through a process and they would have access to all different types, everything from a psychological point to support their changes and to help them to let go and have a better quality of life quicker. Thank you.
So can you share with us a little bit more success stories about patients that actually tried this therapy and it really worked for them?
Yes, so previous to including any technology in my coaching or in my business, so someone might come with fear of flying, and they come and say, or fear of public speaking, and they come and just talk to me, but I might help them with some different techniques, some language techniques, but I have got no way of knowing how they're going to actually react when they go on a plane. They don't also know. They're just trusting me, and they've paid me a lot of money. And so I feel like, so using the VR, so you probably only need around 4 supporting sessions and to be able to give someone they've actually experienced it. So for instance, with fear of flying, it could be 4 different parts of the journey. So some people get anxiety before when they're preparing to go to the airport. It could be takeoff, during turbulence or during a landing. So the programs that I have all support each part of the process, and also we're monitoring their heart rate as well at the same time, so you don't take them any further than they are. But they get to know exactly, they can calibrate their own behaviour or their own performance and stuff, so you get to know exactly how it is. When I developed my new concept here at the park, I haven't told them yet, but that's where it's going to be. But then I would use even like a mechanical seat, so that now I have like an airplane seat, so that you get a different experience. So you have an airplane seat and you have the VR, plus you also have like the kind of the talk-based session as well. So it's combining everything as possible. There's more real that you can make it, the more likely they are to let go. And the same for public speaking as well, is that once you do the program, it actually gives you a scorecard, and it tells you how your performance is based on how many ums and ahs and whether you're so it gives you a scorecard afterwards, so it tells you whether you're performing well or not. So it's really clear and easy for the clients to see. But if you were to take an extreme, I mean, there are so many different studies about the benefits of using immersion with therapy, and even with the military, so using with soldiers who suffer from PTSD, I think that more than more than 50% of them let go of PTSD with only 6 to 8 sessions. And so if you take that as like the most extreme, then I think that for everybody else, then just a few supporting sessions is really beneficial. And I'd definitely be happy if anybody wants to come and try it as well. So not right now, but please definitely take my card and come and experience it if you like.
And how do you see the future of mixed reality in the future, and the business opportunities that it will open to companies or individual or entrepreneurs?
Well, I personally don't think that anyone would do it in any other way once this is being developed, because why would you make somebody suffer more? Why wouldn't you, if you can do it in a quicker way, why wouldn't you do that? I'm not sure I've ever met anybody who said, please let me drag this process out for a long time and let me have to talk about things. Many of my clients are letting go of things like trauma or childhood trauma. They don't want to talk about it even with me. So if I can do anything to help them, so the future is if we can do anything that helps somebody to let go of whatever they're struggling with, then I think that we should be doing that, absolutely. So for me, I'm starting that process off, but I think in the future that everybody will be doing that. It's not to replace anybody, because I believe it's in conjunction, it's just to facilitate. So, but if I can make somebody have a more comfortable experience and not feel shame or not feel any of those other big emotions that someone might feel, or embarrassment, then I'll do that. So
yeah, it's not about replacement, it's about opening new opportunities. So now let's move to Adnan. Please give us some brief about yourself, about your company, Noingo, and what actually your objective.
Sure. Well, good evening, everyone. You want to switch? Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Actually, today I'm not here to speak about Noingo. I'm here to speak about ITD, which is a company which is a joint venture with the research park here. And before I even go and talk in more detail about what ITD does and what our mission is, I just want to take it a little bit broader, because actually it's a pretty iconic day to be speaking about the future, considering the fact that, the UAE is one of the very few countries today has sent a probe to Mars. And this, to most people, sounds like the future, but it's here already, it's happening today. And if we look at mixed reality, if we look at VR, the impact of mixed reality and VR is much closer to us than what certain people may perceive as being the future. So when I talk about ITD and what we do, we actually focus from a B2B perspective rather than a B2C perspective. At the end of the day, of course, we all work with people, so there's not really a difference between B2B and B2C. But to give you an example, we work with aviation companies that today may need to get people from all over the world to train in various different centers and do that in VR instead. And now they can train their workforce everywhere around the globe. We can put an oil rig on fire in VR and train people how to put it out. If you would have to, train people in such scenario in real life, this is kind of impossible. And just to speak from an impact perspective, a little bit more global and then a little bit more specific to the UAE, the impact of mixed reality for us, for the people that are sitting here, in the next 9 years has an impact of almost 0.9% on the UAE economy from a GDP perspective. It will enhance approximately 41,000 jobs, which is roughly almost everyone that is coming out of AOC right now. So that is what we work with, that is what we focus on, and like my colleague here, I would say, is our objective is to help people. Our objective is to use gamification, gaming technology, VR, mixed reality, to do things better, more efficient, more effective.
So coming from the background of education, so how do you think the application of VR in education sector, and how we could benefit from this, especially today with COVID situation and everybody was going to distance learning, and believe this type of education is a little bit boring. So how we can use the VR technology to give more, like, entertain more the student in this?
Well, this is a very good question. And if you look at the way we currently train and educate people, we send them to a school, or we get them onto a campus for 4 to 6 years, and eventually they take a certificate with them home, and that is their knowledge for the next 100 years until they die, basically. This doesn't make any sense, although the experience of learning and going through this experience of school and university is very important. It's more of an experience rather than actually teaching something, because eventually we will start forgetting. I don't know, for the people also here in the audience, for the people that have left school even 1 year ago, I don't know how much you remember from what you have been taught at school. And if we want to put that into perspective and how gaming technology can help us, it's about giving feedback immediately. Being in a VR environment, I can experience something immediately. We read a book, and maybe 4 years later we go and put it into practice. Whereas with VR, with AR, with mixed reality, we put it into practice immediately. The ability of making mistakes is the fastest way to learn. If we teach people to put out the fire. This is a very simple scenario in VR. Putting out the fire in a real building could end up with you dying and a lot of other people as well. Putting out a fire in VR, the worst thing that can happen is that you're not going to succeed and you're going to have to try again. And I think this is one of the key things here, that we're going to be able to teach people things that were previously unimaginable. And if I would also speak about the military, we can teach people the experience of getting shot. and what that would mean. And so today technology is going to a certain stage where I would say we teach people things that were previously impossible to teach.
That's nice. So again, we'll go back to our audience. Is there any question? Anyone will volunteer? Okay, please. You're asking about aviation? Sorry, please, can you have a mic? I'm taking it. Okay.
Yeah, with regard to the aviation sector, you mentioned that the concept of virtual reality helps the workforce.
Yes.
How does that, can you just elaborate?
Absolutely. So we work together with KLM Air France, which is an airline in Europe, partially in France, partially in the Netherlands. And as I mentioned previously, they have to train their workforce in various different scenarios. There's a scenario called pre-boarding. Any airline in the world has to go through a pre-boarding training, if you will, before their departure. And this is something that people have to learn before they come and work, and they need to get certified in this once a year. But we're talking about 300 pages that they basically need to memorize to be able to actually fly. And if they make a mistake before they are supposed to fly out in their pre-boarding session, which is an hour before the departure, that could actually mean, if they make two mistakes, that they're not allowed to fly, and you may need to get another cabin crew. So just take this simple scenario where it is actually quite difficult to ground the plane, because the only way to train someone would be to ground the plane, have hundreds, potentially in the case of KLM, 3,000 people be trained in the same day. You have the cost of the airplane being grounded, you have the cost of logistics, the workforce having to be there for 1, 2, 3 days on productive hours. So how do we do this with VR? Well, first of all, we can recreate any plane in any setup in a VR environment. So that's step number one. Step number two would be that we can offer this to as many people as possible in any location, as long as they have a stable internet connection, and we can offer them the technology with a VR headset to train. So you're taking a expensive, potentially complex, potentially dangerous scenario when things go wrong, and we make it more accessible. And only the fact that it's more accessible would reduce risk, but we're not even talking about the fact that it also reduces cost, that we can train people more often, that therefore potentially we are all going to be safer on board of an airplane. So any airline CEO you would talk to, one of their key priorities would be to reduce risk, to increase safety, and to increase awareness and understanding of safety on an airplane for their cabin crew. So this is one example of how you could utilize VR, and how we currently utilize VR in the airline industry.
And again, from the passenger perspective, anything related to, as you said, about the safety risk, from the passenger perspective, you have done anything?
We have not done anything from the passenger perspective, but I can definitely speak about scenarios that are relevant for a passenger. And I would say they're more about going through a immersive experience. You can enhance the experience with a passenger using artificial intelligence or augmented reality, augmented reality and virtual reality. Whether this is through games or whether this is through any scenario that you may want to teach something.
Okay.
Thank you. Since we are a research center, so what advice you can give to the entrepreneurs that they are working in projects and VR? How do you see this industry in the future? What are the opportunities over there?
I love this question, obviously, because I'm a person who is identifying opportunities in this space. And as I mentioned to you before, the industry is massive. So we're talking about the next 9 years. By 2030, the global industry for mixed reality is approximately 1.5 trillion. We're not talking billions, we're talking 1.5 trillion. It will impact approximately 23 million jobs. There's a great report online that I recently learned from our head of sales. It's called Seeing is Believing by PwC. And you will see that the UAE, as I've just mentioned to you, already in the UAE there is a big impact going to be made on the workforce here. But I think what the UAE has always been great at is introducing technology, introducing innovation, and being at the forefront. So I think if you're an entrepreneur, if you are a person who is pursuing business opportunities in this space, I would look at how is co-creation being done today. Today, when we want to create a product, we need to source all kinds of materials. If we would do this in VR, we don't need to source any of these materials. We just create them virtually. And we can try all types of different scenarios before we go and create a product. We could offer it to someone. Today, you can go to the website of Apple, and with AR, you could experience how a MacBook looks like on your table. This will go a lot further than that. And I think if you go and identify things that could be made virtual and identify how you could reduce risk, increase productivity or effectiveness, or increase revenue in any shape or form, then you may have a great opportunity that you could pursue.
Thank you. So since we are also part of the social initiatives and we really care about the environment, is there any drawback of using the VR technology in the human eyes?
So I'm not sure if you are more familiar, but I'll start and say that, of course, I'm not an expert in this field, so clearly I'm not going to give any medical advice on this, but what I can say is that for us as humans, I don't think we were born with watching a screen, or even as humans, we didn't evolve starting to watch a screen, and we didn't evolve by doing the same thing over and over again. So I think what we have learned is we try new things, we experience them, and for some people it takes a little bit longer before they get used to, in this case, a VR environment. I think, as you have also mentioned, that for some people maybe you get dizzy. I think you mentioned this as well. You just take it off and you try it again, and maybe next time you can stay twice as long, and the time after that you get used to it even more. So I think both it's personal for people to get used to the technology and used to a new experience and the immersiveness. And the other part is that from a medical perspective, I think there is a lot of research being done to reduce the negative impact that this may have, although it's not proven that it has any negative impact.
Yeah, I believe I read many reports about it, and I believe there is no single evidence that there is actually a negative impact. Maybe because the technology itself is new,
yes.
And we have to wait like a few years before we know exactly the drawbacks of it. So, what do you think from your side?
I think I need to open my business quickly then, in 10 years afterwards. You tell me there's a side effect.
But this actually opens more opportunities to find a safer way to practice VR, I think.
Absolutely.
I actually think that the benefits far outweigh any of the negatives that might be. I just think that, of course, you could completely live in virtual reality if you wanted to, but then what's the point of that? And I think it's using it in combination with other experiences, and that's why not just using virtual reality, even like you're just using augmented reality, you're combining both already. So I think that the brain actually doesn't need to have super sophisticated graphics or anything, because the brain will make an easy jump with something. So actually they can be quite basic, whatever it is that you use, and it doesn't need to be for that long as well. So of course I'm not going to say there's no negative impact, because I don't know, but I would say that the benefits far outweigh it, and it's just if you compare that to maybe screen time that you see toddlers using on iPads and things like that, there's no way that I could say that that's more beneficial than this. So I think tackle that first and then come back to the VR.
That's fine. So before we wrap up our session, so any questions? So by the end of the session, I would like to thank you all for coming today, and congratulations again for reaching the Mars. Thank you, Adnan. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.